What's going down, y'all? Had a nice little haul today. Stopped off at the usual spots. We went over to that cave, and we'll start off first with what my wife got, okay? So, over there at the cave, my wife picked up another Green Day album, right? Pretty fly. She also swooped a Billy Joel album. Now, I'm not going to front like I know anything about Billy Joel. If I heard his stuff, I'd be like, yeah, I know that song, but I don't know them songs. I said, what's significant about this album? She said it's one of his more popular albums with one of his more famous songs on it. So big ups to her and her listening taste, right? Now, for your homie, this is where we get fly. A little Will Smith classic, I Am Legend. It's a good one. After seeing 28 years later and then having watched 28 Days and 28 Weeks, and who ain't a fan of zombies, even though these aren't really zombies, but then they kind of are. We'll get into that at another time. I hear there's a sequel coming to this starring Will Smith, Michael B. Jordan. I'm here for that. Anyway, Will Smith classic, I Am Legend. If you ain't seen it, check it out. This one right here. Jamie Foxx, Jason Bateman, you got Jennifer Gardner. Phenomenal film, The Kingdom. This movie is not really talked about too much. Basically, it's America beefing with the Middle East, if you will, right? Now, I like this movie quite a bit just because Jamie Foxx, Jason Bateman, Jennifer Gardner, the acting is like top-notch, directing is top-notch. It's a beautiful-looking film, especially considering that they're in a land that I've never been to, so seeing a whole different setting and all of that sort of stuff and how it's filmed, the cinematography is on point. But I also like it because in a way, even though they kind of focus on the American aspect of it, they're kind of showing both sides of the fence on how two opposite countries, two opposite cultures can beef with each other, and that beef is just going to continue to cycle and cycle and cycle on because one person is feeling one way, the other is feeling the other way, but the way that each of those communities feel is technically the same. It's a good movie. Check it out. Kind of timely. Boom, The Faculty. Yo, this is an old school movie. Now, I remember I grew up San Jose, right? South San Jose. And I remember seeing this at Oak Ridge Mall. It was like kind of like the mall at that point in time when I was growing up. Very small. It blew up super big now. That's how far back this movie goes. 1998, if I'm not mistaken. Starring clearly young Elijah Wood. Look, you got Usher in this piece. Yeah. Usher's up in this thing. You got Elijah Wood, and then you got Josh Hartnett, a guy who was kind of done dirty, if you will, by Pearl Harbor. I don't mind Pearl Harbor. I think it's a fine film. It's dumb, yes, but it's also got its fly moments, okay? But anyways, for whatever reason, Ben Affleck was able to skyrocket after that, but Josh Hartnett kind of had to take a back seat. And this dude is like pretty fly in this movie. This is basically kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets any teen movie you can imagine, right? And directed by Robert Rodriguez, this guy brought us stuff like, you know, Planet Terror, From Dusk Till Dawn, you know what I'm saying? He can go from movies like that to Spy Kids to Faculty. So that man's definitely got a lot of tools in the shed, if you will. And The Faculty is a pretty dope, it's a fun movie. It will definitely be a little reminiscent of when you was in high school and if aliens was coming to do some wild-ish. Fun time. Check it out if you ain't never seen it. Fight Club. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jay Green, you don't got Fight Club? Look, I'm not saying I don't got Fight Club, but I didn't have it on Blu-ray. So I wanted to pick it up on Blu-ray because this movie is the ish. I personally was late to the party with this one, so there's a little twist in it. For whatever reason, if someone out there is watching this and does not know that twist, I ain't gonna say ish, but I was late to the party, so that twist caught your homie off guard. Dope as hell. Fight Club. If you ain't seen it, check it out. The Purge on 4K, baby. Now, I do have The Purge, regular DVD. I said 4K for $4.99. Let's do that, right? Now, of course, The Purge went on to spawn a bunch of sequels, not all as good as the original in my opinion. This movie, simple, a bit more grounded, still letting you know that America is off its rocker, letting everybody go mayhem crazy on this one particular night. But this movie's pretty fly, kind of caught me off guard. And again, good enough to spawn like 3, 4, 5 other movies. Purge, 4K. Check it out. Now, this right here, hopefully it's what I actually think it is. And I'm thinking that it's going to be Days of Thunder on Blu-ray. Hell yeah. Days of Thunder, Blu-ray. Now let me tell you a little something. I love this movie. A long time ago, many moons ago, my wife and I did a versus review. I think it was probably during the pandemic. Yeah, it was during the pandemic actually. And it was Days of Thunder versus the original Top Gun. I pick Days of Thunder over the original Top Gun. They're both great movies. They're both a little lightweight campy here and there, but they still hold a special place in my heart. But Days of Thunder takes the cake, and let me tell you why. I remember when I was real young, a little boy man, if you will, and I was being babysat. And the chick that was babysitting me, she done had Days of Thunder. She put that on, and her sound system in the house was pretty fly. And so from the moment that that announcer says, "Gentlemen, start your engines," brrr, fast forward, go to Great America. Back in the day, it was Paramount's Great America, and they had one of those rides. It was kind of like a virtual reality ride. So you're sitting in the chairs and the chairs move along with the image on the screen. And the first film that they were showcasing, at least a portion of that film specifically for the ride, was Days of Thunder. So again, that nostalgia that I had when I was just a young one into adolescent at Great America, sitting in that seat, "Gentlemen, start your engine," brr, and the whole seat's rattling. This movie's always gonna hold a special place in my heart. Also, it's got like, for me, so many one-liners from Tom Cruise, and the relationship between Tom Cruise and Michael Rooker's character, the relationship between Tom Cruise and Robert Duvall's character. This movie's phenomenal. Don't sleep on Days of Thunder. And another thing, with the movie F1 coming out, which I am super hyped for, which I'm about to check out and bring you that review if I haven't done it already. Okay, Brad Pitt, also another one of my favorite actors. Him and Tom Cruise go way back. Interview with the Vampire, in case y'all didn't know that. And they hella homies too. That being said, there's been some talks after F1 was getting some good looks. Tom Cruise coming out talking about, maybe I'll do a little Days of Thunder sequel. Now, my personal opinion, I'm like, Tom, don't do that, as if I got this man's number, right? But I was like, nah, as much as I would be down with that, don't do it, because for the layperson, for the people that don't know, Days of Thunder been around for a cool minute. They're just gonna think you're trying to piggyback off of what Brad Pitt's doing. Well, considering that Jerry Bruckheimer, executive producer swag of a lot of Tom Cruise movies, a lot of great action movies of the 90s, including Days of Thunder, produced F1, and Joseph Krasinski, who also directed F1 and Top Gun Maverick. You see where I'm going with this? They're all super fly. So right now, on the red carpet for the F1 premiere, they're talking about doing a crossover. Now, sometimes you'd be like, hey, you know what? Not everything needs a crossover. But if you think about it, that makes a lot of sense, right? A race car driver driving for one group over here can cross over to another group over there. It's been done, I'm pretty sure. Okay? So the point is, I got this in preparation that F1 is going to be dope as F, and that it can get a potential sequel that could potentially be a crossover. And I want to make sure that I got all these race car movies in my wheelhouse. You feel me? So I was super excited to get this one. Amazon came through with the delivery today. But wait, there's a little bit more. Nothing too big and nothing that most of y'all might even remember, right? But when I was up at the counter getting all this fly DVD swag, right, from the cave, I noticed they had this little bin right there, and they had some stickers in there, some card stickers. And what were they? Garbage Pail Kids. Hey, y'all, do y'all remember Garbage Pail Kids? Garbage Pail Kids was some sick ass, nasty ass cards that I remember when we was young, we used to get a big old kick out of these things, right? They always had some like silly ass names. They were kind of like, made for kids, but at the same time, extremely adult. You know what I'm saying? This look like some girls right now. I feel like that whole lip injection and that whole booty enhancement situation is dying down just a little bit. But they out there. They out there. Again, these ain't for everybody. I'm not saying they're going to be anything groundbreaking to add into my collection. But I do already have Miles watching Thriller, Michael Jackson, and he ain't scared. He loved that type of stuff. So I'm sure that at one point in time, he's going to get a kick out of these cards, thinking that they hella gross, hella nasty. Anyway, just a little bit of my collection, some things that I like, some things that I added. Hope y'all enjoy. Holla.